All right, we will continue with the next segment with Niaga AWANI forecast, talking about district energy system which offer a more sustainable approach to cool and heat buildings might play a pivotal role in Malaysia's effort to address climate change while intensifying its focus on developing commercial centres in industrial park. Now let's take a look on the national plan to embrace this technology. I welcome our guest in the studio, Dr. Mohd Hafiz Ibrahim, the Senior General Manager of Megajana. I want to say thank you very much for joining us. It's fantastic to have you. And we know that talking about energy transition is a trending topic nowadays. Before we go deeper, Megajana plays a key role as in the smart and green aspect of Cyberjaya. So can you tell us more about Megajana's role and how energy transition or energy efficient is significant to us, especially in the recent years?
Maybe I'll start with Nina, with the energy transition, what's going on. So if you look at the past few years, consumers, either you're a domestic consumer or a businesses, having greater pressure nowadays with respect to energy. So for example, this year in terms of electricity, the price of electricity has increased. In fact, the government spent first half of the year with the electrical subsidy of close to 10.76 billion ringgit. And it's not just in Malaysia, but also globally. Another factor is also in terms of sustainability. People are looking for ways can they adopt a new technology, new renewable energy, a new alternative and cleaner energy. So the demand for energy transition is there. So in terms of what we do in Cyberjaya is that we cool the whole building, the whole city. So as far as cooling is very important nowadays. If you look at Malaysia, we are at high temperature country. So if you look for what has happened in 1970s until today, there's a research done in 2018 which shows that the number of days in a year that the temperature increased 32 degrees. Why 32 degrees is because that's where your body, you cannot be exposed for a long time, else you will have heat-related issues. So in the 1970s, if you were in Bukit Jalil, for example, there were around 170 days in a year, 130 days in a year that the temperature increased 32 degrees. When the research was done in 2018, itself in Kuala Lumpur, the number of days increasing above 32 degrees is close to 270 days already.
Oh, wow.
And they did a forecast, what happened in 2050. So by 2050, you're looking at close to 320 days in a year that the temperature above 32 degrees. So what does it mean to us? So you will sweat more.
Okay.
You cannot go out like usual. You have to change your behavior. And the most concern is cooling. So you have to stay indoor to cool yourself. So this is where we come in. So what we do in Cyberjaya, we try to cool the whole city. So we've been around since 1998, and what we do is, if you're familiar with utility, so we know that we can't live without telecommunication, we can't live without electricity, we can't live without water, and another one which is very important is on cooling. So we know that we don't have to have our own telco towers for us to be able to call people. We know that we don't have to dig our own well to have our own water, and we know also we don't have to buy our own generator to generate electricity. So same goes for cooling. For cooling, you can actually share the same facility to actually cool your own buildings or your infrastructure or facility. Yeah.
All right. Talking and expanding about topic of energy efficiency in the past year, we want to touch on the public perceptions. How does public perception and awareness of district cooling system is a factor of widespread of adoption, and what strategy can be used to employ to enhance their understanding?
Okay, when you talk about energy transition, you have to look at both sides of the coin. So one is the power side, the supply side, and the other side is the demand side. So this is where energy efficiency comes into the picture. So you can use renewable energy to power up your equipment, but you need to also use it smartly. So this is where energy efficiency lies. So in terms of district cooling, we are under the energy efficiency spectrum. And then in terms of public awareness, we've been around. I think, in fact, not just us, the industry itself has been around for the past 25 years. And public awareness is something that we are trying to increase. So this is where we do engagement, advocacy, not just with public, but also with the authority and also the other stakeholders.
And all right, I want to touch even on the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act 2023 EECA. How exactly will this act help in realizing the energy transition or specifically efficient energy usage? How can we take a look from the policy side?
For the past 2 years, we've seen as well close to 40% of the countries globally introducing new policy related to energy efficiency or strengthening the existing policy which they already have. So in terms of what we have achieved in the country, we know that there have been a series of development in terms of our energy. National Energy Policy was introduced in 2022. Then 2023, NETR was announced in mid this year, in August. And then in October, it was tabled the EECA. So EECA basically will affect 3 groups of sectors. Number 1, the large energy consumers. Number 2, the building owners. And the third one is equipment suppliers. So in terms of what do they need to do with respect to the impact of EECA is that you have to appoint registered energy managers after this, and then you have to do your energy audit within the 12 months period after the Act has been gazetted, and then you have to implement your energy efficiency management plan whereby you need to improve on your energy efficiency of your building. So this is where solutions like district cooling are able to support in terms of improving the energy efficiency. For example, in a building, for example, let's say this studio or even at home, do you know that 60%, up to 60% of the energy that you use, the electricity bill that you pay actually goes to aircon?
That's a lot, actually.
That's a lot. 24% to the equipment and 11% on lighting. So imagine if you can reduce the electricity consumption for aircon. So if you use less electricity, you use less fuel. If you use less fuel, then you emit less emission. So this is how district cooling are able to support that agenda.
And how are these regulatory framework, they can influence the market dynamics and competition?
The EECA has a section mentioned district cooling, but we expect that more details to be outlined soon. In fact, when people talk about impact of EECA, they have to start looking into how they can be more efficient. So this is where the market, the industry players are able to support this direction. Along
with the discussion, it's important to understand the efficient energy usage. It's possible and how it has helped the environmentally. Can you share with us any other alternative that we can adapt other than the Enforcement Act?
Energy efficiency should start from home. I mean, you should start from individual. So changing of behavior is very important. I think using less aircon is something which we can do. It's very practical. So do you know that if you reduce 1 degree Celsius of air conditioning your aircon temperature, you can actually save your electricity bill 3 to 5%.
Oh.
Yeah. In fact, the world standard says that around 24 to 25 degrees is sufficient enough for your comfort cooling. So in terms of businesses, what you can do is that large development areas, high density areas, proper planning is required. I think in terms of how we plan for new township needs to be more smarter. We need to include this element of energy efficiency. Therefore, I think I mentioned earlier that district cooling is just another shared utility. This is something that perhaps the authority can start looking into this. And so far, we have done a lot of advocacy as well, not just us, but also the industry, to promote the utilization of and adoption of district cooling as compared to the conventional cooling.
And for some of us, the term of direct cooling system is quite new. Talking about the infrastructure of development or investment, how does the development and maintenance of district cooling maintenance can contribute to the local economic growth and job creation?
First, let me brief in the simple form what is district cooling. So district cooling is basically a facility which actually can cool down the whole city or neighborhood. So from this building consists of highly efficient industrial equipment. And then this is where water are being cooled to 5 degrees to 6 degrees. And this cold water are being transferred through underground insulated pipes to buildings across that neighborhood or around that development area. So and then from that building, actually the warm heat is being absorbed, and then the water is being circulated back to the district cooling facility for you to actually cool it again. So if you look at this cycle, there's a lot of equipment involved. I think from the job opportunities in terms of the development of district cooling facility, the operation and maintenance part of it, and of course the district cooling also adopts a lot of building automation system. So this also align with the IR revolution, in the industrial revolution, and also just to share with you, one of the district cooling plant here in Malaysia, especially the one in Cyberjaya, actually is unmanned. So they have two buildings. So one building is unmanned, is being monitored remotely. So this is one of the technology that you can adopt, and this provide opportunities for solution providers to support the industry.
And we can see how advance in technology has impacted the efficient and effectiveness of district cooling system. And we want to proceed to the urban planning. Maybe in the last 2 minutes, maybe you can share in what ways do district cooling system integrate with urban planning strategies moving forward, and how do they contribute to the overall sustainability and resilience of the urban areas?
We always highlight that district cooling should be a backbone for smart city. So this is, for example, in Cyberjaya. When the Cyberjaya was designed, so they have taken into account that district cooling is one of the utility to be used to cool down the city. So taking this as an example for new township or new development, this is something, a model that can be adopted in terms of urban planning. For existing buildings, existing township, they can actually look into how they can retrofit and make sure their buildings are more efficient in terms of the cooling.
All right, definitely all of this are some of the tools and systems that we can use to overcome the barriers and even fight the climate change. We hope this commitment can help Malaysia achieve net zero emission by 2050 and reduce CO2 intensity by 45 against the GDP by 45% by 2030. I want to say thank you very much again to Dr. Mohd Hafiz Ibrahim, the Senior General Manager, Megajana, and all of our discussion here will be featured in astro.awani.com and all digital platform.